personnel were working. As a matter of fact, I have a picture right here. This was taken of me the next morning.
So, still, you would think, would the planes not be able to keep bombing and sink the ship?
There were only so many rockets and so many 40 millimeter cannon shells that they could fire at us. There were over 820 large caliber strikes on the ship, including Navy.
So it was like McCain. I saw another video mentioning that McCain at the time with Israel had planned this to sink this American USS Liberty ship. I don't know much about the attack. It happened 48 years ago, and that was 2015. So now it's been like 51 years since the attack.
There were 2 napalm bombs dropped onto us, rockets and 40 millimeter cannon fire, which makes a pretty big hole. The ship, when those rockets struck it, it was literally like a very hot knife through butter. Just melted 3/4 inch steel on the skin of the ship.
Now, if I understand correctly from what I know of the story, there was some kind of blocking of SOS messages, but finally an SOS message does get through, or there's evidence that one did get through earlier and wasn't responded to, and we're going to get to that part of the story. But then an SOS message does go through, and then the Israelis break off their attack. Is that all? Is that correct?
The Israelis were jamming our distress frequencies, and that's a violation of international law. It's okay to jam tactical frequencies, normally where orders are sent back and forth between ships and personnel and aircraft and so forth. That is okay to do that, but not international distress frequencies. That's a violation of international law. And the Israelis were jamming our distress frequencies. They had shot up all of our transmitting antennas in the first air raids. And we had one whip antenna, which was not working. A young sailor by the name of Terry Halbardier took a roll of coaxial cable and ran that back to the after part of the ship to that one whip antenna. And the radio operators had figured out that when rockets were being fired from the aircraft, they couldn't jam their distress frequencies because the jamming was also screwing up the flights of the rockets. So there was a brief period of a few seconds time when rockets were being fired at us when the jamming was not taking place.
Right.
And that's when the distress frequency was sent off.
Before we go any further, how many people were killed and wounded that day?
There were 34 killed, 9 were killed topside in the aircraft attacks, and 25 were killed in the research compartment by the torpedo explosion. We had a total complement of 294 personnel altogether. That included 3 civilian analysts from the linguists from the National Security Agency, us 3 Marines, and the balance were naval personnel, both intelligence personnel and those who operated the ship. There were 208 total Purple Hearts awarded out of a crew of 294.
So just to frame this discussion a little bit, the evidence seems to point to, although the official version concluded otherwise, that the Israelis knew exactly what they were doing. We're going to get into the detail of this with Bryce and Ray. That the ship was clearly visible, and that 34 people were killed and many more wounded. And yet, this goes down in history as an error with which some compensation was paid for the error. But then let's deal with sort of the big question, Bryce. Based on you being there that day and what you saw, why do you think this couldn't have been a mistake?
We were overflown several times during the morning of June the 8th by Israeli aircraft. At least 8 times, 8 different occasions that we were overflown. And the reason they were doing that is to make sure that they knew exactly where all of our transmitting antennas were, so when they attacked, they could knock us out. Now, the excuses the Israelis give, well, they didn't see a flag. Excuse me? They shot down 2 flags, and we ran up 3. The 3rd flag that we ran up was our holiday flag. That's the largest flag you have aboard ship. They claim, well, we couldn't see a flag because of smoke. Well, there wasn't any smoke until the Israelis dropped napalm on us. They claim that they thought that we were an Egyptian ship, the El Qasir, which is a World War.
Yeah, so the reason I'm making this video is because Apostate Prophet said that 9/11, he doesn't believe that was an inside job. And he believes it was a couple of Muslims who flew planes into buildings, and that's what he believes. He believes it was a terrorist attack on America by some Muslim jihadis. And he laughs at 9/11 truthers who don't believe that. And so that's why I made this video. I searched Uss Liberty because I've heard about it before. And so that's what this video is about.
One horse carrier had not been to sea for 20 years and was waiting to be cut up for scrap. Well, there's some problems with that excuse also. Number one, U.S. ships are painted gray with white markings. Our hallmark was GTR5. That's your ship's license plate. GTR5 stands for General Technical Research, the 5th ship of her class, the largest and newest ship of her class. General Technical Research means she's a non-combatant, and non-combatants are not legitimate military targets. I mentioned U.S. ships are painted gray with white markings. Egyptian ships are painted black with gray markings, and those hallmarks are in Arabic script. Big difference. And nobody from Israel can give me the excuse that they don't know the difference between English markings and Arabic script. All highway signs in Israel are marked in Arabic.
Is it possible that this is in the midst of a war? There's who knows how many pieces of
Someone said Israel's run by the synagogue of Satan.
Information and data the command has to process at the same time. If you look at Crewdson's article, I should have said that he wrote that for the Chicago Tribune and the Baltimore Sun in 2007. At the very end of the article, there's a timeline, and in that timeline, I'll read what he has here. He says,
Israel equals terror.
The Israeli naval commander orders the commander of the torpedo boat division to attack the Liberty. This is 2:20 p.m. At almost the same time, the Naval Operations Branch orders, do not attack. It's possible the aircraft not identified correctly. The commander of the torpedo boat division says he never got any order to cease the attack, although the deputy commander says he passed the message to the commander. I mean, once they really launch the attack and continue the attack, actually that's my question, how long did this attack go on for?
The attack lasted a total of 75 minutes when we were actively being shot at.
So it's not possible over the course of that early into that 75 minutes, they know what they're attacking, and maybe they know what they're attacking right from the beginning, that if this information that Crewdson gives in the timeline is correct, there's contradictory orders coming from the Israeli command. I mean, I guess this is a bit of theorizing, but is it possible this begins as a miscommunication error, and then once they start the attack, then they decide to sink the ship because it's better that there's no witnesses to it than not?
If you go on YouTube and search the day Israel attacked America, there's an hour-and-a-half long film on there, and the actual conversations in Hebrew between ground control and the aircraft are on that film. The day Israel attacked America, in Hebrew, identifying it as an American ship.
So there's no question in your mind from the very beginning they have to know it's an American ship, and based on the quote I read from in the introduction, actually let me read a little more of that quote because it's when you hear the whole quote, it's rather damning. So this is.
Let me just interject this, Paul.
Yeah.
Had the Israelis been shooting at the El Qasir, which they claim, the torpedoes would have totally missed. Torpedoes have to be set for a certain depth in order to strike their target in a vital place. USS Liberty was 3 times the tonnage of El Cassir,